only I know the balance and the weight of this particular loaded die. That way, when you look at your totem, you know beyond a doubt that you're not in someone else's dream.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 movie endings that don't mean what you think.
With most films, I tend to always say it's what the audience thinks it is. My personal opinion is, no, it was not a dream.
For this list, we'll be looking at movie endings that often get misinterpreted or misunderstood by some portion of the movie-going public. We're not saying everyone got these wrong, but merely exploring those endings that have caused people to occasionally miss the point. Which misinterpreted movie ending is your favorite? Let us know in the comments. Number 20, Scarface.
Say hello to my little friend!
People still celebrate Tony Montana as some sort of folk hero. To them, Tony represents the American dream, and he went out in a respectable and badass blaze of glory. But the ending isn't to commend Tony's path in life, it's to criticize it.
Tony had this elaborate mansion, yet he mainly stayed in one room, utterly paranoid and high off his rocker.
It makes me sleep good at night, that's what counts.
His best friend was dead, his mother hated him, and his sister went mad and tried to kill him. He sacrificed his sanity and hurt those closest to him to obtain power and material success, the twisted embodiment of the American dream. It's telling that the final shot is Tony's corpse floating underneath an ironic "the world is yours" globe.
Number 19, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Bye.
This film ends with Joel and Clementine skeptically getting back together, despite knowing that it will likely end in pain. The final shot sees the two playing on the beach as the screen fades to white, but we see it 3 times. This doesn't really affect the overall theme of the movie, but it's interesting to note that Joel and Clem have repeated this process on numerous occasions. The movie is suggesting that the fleeting moments of happiness in life and love are worth the endless suffering, but it could also be suggesting that Clem and Joel are stuck in an incompatible relationship. They simply aren't meant to be.
Number 18, Birdman.
The ending of Birdman is divisive and ambiguous. It sees Riggins saying goodbye to Birdman, opening a window and climbing onto the ledge. A distraught Sam then looks at the pavement below, before glancing skyward and smiling. Some have suggested that Riggin actually killed himself on stage. Others suggest that Sam's skyward glance represents her mental break. She's chosen to ignore reality and embrace the virtues of ignorance by pretending that her father has flown. But perhaps the simplest explanation is the most rewarding. Sam is happy that her father is now free and unburdened, and she looks skyward to recognize his metaphorical ascension. Either way, dude is dead.
Number 17, No Country for Old Men.
How'd you sleep?
I don't know. Had dreams.
Audiences were expecting a Wild West showdown. They got a monologue about dreams. The second dream likely represents Belle's frustration. He was entrusted with a job and he failed. He was overmatched by the cold, dark world that is represented in the second dream. This dream saw his father holding fire in the darkness, a symbol for safety and comfort.
When he rode past, I seen he was carrying fire in a horn, the way people used to do, and I could see the horn from the light inside of it, about the color of the moon.
But it's telling that Belle wakes up only to be back in the real world.
Then I woke up.
A world of clearly defined boundaries between coldness and warmth doesn't exist. As Ellis states, what Belle's got ain't nothing new, meaning his feelings of being overmatched and living in an unjust world have always been universal.
What you got ain't nothing new. This country's hard on people.
Number 16, The Shining.
The Shining certainly has an ambiguous ending. After we're treated to the indelible image of Jack's frozen face, the camera slowly zooms into a picture of partygoers from 1921. Standing front and center is Jack. So he's like a time traveler or something? Was his spirit absorbed by the Overlook? Nope. As Grady said, Jack has always been the caretaker. Both Jack and Grady seem to have been reincarnated and brought back to the hotel to fulfill some sort of evil purpose. This is backed up by both Stanley Kubrick and Diane Johnson, each of whom have said that the photo represents Jack's reincarnation. Now, why he and Grady were reincarnated is a different question altogether.
Number 15, The Thing.
You the only one who made it?
Not the only one.
Alright, let's put this to bed once and for all. Childs is not The Thing. Oh, Childs' breath isn't visible? No. Childs' breath is visible, and on numerous occasions. Yes, it is very subtle when compared to MacReady's, but it is there. Childs drinks gasoline? Absolutely not. There's nothing at all to suggest this, and why would MacReady go for a drink before Childs even shows up? And if Childs was the thing, why does he toy with MacReady? This theory was also put to rest by Kurt Russell himself, who said that he worked on the ending's conception with John Carpenter. Nope, it's just two guys making the ultimate sacrifice and sharing a bottle of scotch before they freeze to death.
Why don't we just wait here for a little while?
Number 14. The Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight Rises was certainly more ambiguous than what audiences were expecting from a Batman film. Batman flies the neutron bomb over the bay and is presumed dead after it detonates.
It's out over the bay, it's clear of the city.
But Alfred later sees Bruce and Selina at a cafe in Florence. So what gives? Was this some sort of wish fulfillment by a grief-stricken Alfred? Maybe, but probably not. Nothing really suggests that it's a hallucination, and Christian Bale has stated his belief that it was in fact real.
And he was just delighted that finally he had freed himself from the privilege, but ultimately the burden of being Bruce Wayne.
According to him, Alfred was delighted that Bruce had freed himself from the burden of being Bruce Wayne. But as for how Bruce escaped the nuclear blast, we can't help you there.
Number 13. First Blood.
Oh God. Where's everybody?
Unfortunately, the sequels made Rambo into a blockbuster action hero. But First Blood and the novel it was based on portrayed him in a much harsher light. Yes, he was severely mistreated, but that doesn't give him the right to spark a manhunt and destroy an entire town. Like Troutman says,
"You did everything to make this private war happen."
He was even more problematic in the original script, as he directly killed 16 people. In fact, Rambo was only made more sympathetic due to Sylvester Stallone's reputation as the kind-hearted Rocky. The ending doesn't represent the capture of a defensive man, it's the quelling of a troubled and ultimately dangerous threat. Rambo is a sympathetic and tragic figure, but he's not a hero.
Number 12. 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Bowman is pulled into the trippy Stargate, gets old, sees an enigmatic monolith, and transforms into the Star Child. If we're looking at it objectively, we would say that Bowman traversed the Jupiter monolith, ascended human knowledge, was kept under observation by the Firstborns, and took the next step in human evolution via the final monolith. The Star Child is not a physical entity, but a representation of Bowman's ascended consciousness as he observes mankind as a firstborn. But therein lies the problem. The movie isn't meant to have an objective meaning. As Kubrick states, the film becomes anything the viewer sees in it.
Number 11. Rocky.
What's the problem? You don't like me? You don't like the turtles? What's the problem?
I don't think I belong here.
Rocky is a boxing movie that's not about boxing. While the famous training montage and climactic fight are a lot of fun, the movie was always more interested in telling a wholesome story about an underachiever discovering his potential. It's telling that the result of the fight is so inconsequential. While many bemoan Rocky's loss to Apollo or criticize the movie's lack of focus regarding the outcome, this lack of focus is entirely the point. Rocky and Adrian don't care about the outcome, and neither should you. Rocky went the distance and found love along the way, proving his own self-worth. And when you accomplish that, who cares what the judges have to say?
Number 10. Whiplash.
There are no two words in the English language more harmful than good job.
Whiplash tells the story of an ambitious jazz student and his violent instructor, and it serves as a great fable about the quest for perfection.
And while the ending seems relatively happy, we must take a closer look at Andrew and his relationship with Fletcher.
You're done.
By the end of the film, Andrew is completely ruined and has sacrificed his entire life for drumming. On top of that, the ending seems to hint that Andrew wants Fletcher's approval more than he wants to be a successful drummer. This unhealthy quest for perfection and approval will only lead to more loneliness and tension.
Who knows? Andrew could even wind up like Sean Casey before long.
I'd rather die drunk, broke at 34 and have people at a dinner table talk about me than live to be rich and sober at 90 and nobody remember who I was.
Number 9. Shutter Island.
So for the past 2 years, you've had somebody slipping me drugs in Boston. Is that it?
Not Boston. Here. You've been here for 2 years.
Near the end of Shutter Island, we discover that Teddy Daniels is actually Andrew Laeddis, a mental hospital patient who murdered his wife. While Laeddis initially shows signs of understanding his true identity, the doctors also declared that this has happened before, and that Laeddis had unfortunately regressed.
My name's Andrew Laeddis. And I murdered my wife in the spring of '52.
This is seemingly proven when he refers to Sheehan as Chuck. It's understandable that some people interpret the ending as Laeddis simply regressing back into his role as Teddy. However, Laeddis is only pretending to be Teddy in order to get a lobotomy and end his suffering, as evident by his question to Sheehan, his refusing to answer to Teddy, and Sheehan's bewildered response.
Which would be worse? To live as a monster? Or to die as a good man?
Number 8, Get Out.
By the way, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could. Best president in my lifetime, hands down.
Get Out seems to have a pretty happy ending. Rod arrives and rescues Chris, and the Armitage family are dead. However, things aren't as happy as they seem, as evident by Chris's dejected stare. For one thing, Chris is clearly aware that there are far more members of the Armitage family still out there, and who knows how many kidnapped black people are still wandering around as hosts. The ending could also be an ironic statement on our modern culture. The current racist state of things is still most certainly not handled, contrary to what Rod thinks, and it looks as if Chris knows it. The Armitages are still out there, both literally and figuratively.
Number 7, The Graduate.
The Graduate has one of the most famous endings in movie history.
Benjamin and Elaine happily reunite and run out on all the arrogant old people before boarding a bus and contemplating the unknown future.
And we're left to contemplate as well. It's arguable that Ben pined after Elaine not out of love, but defiance. He wanted her because it was the rebellious thing to do. But when he got her, he got her. There was no more excitement to it. They were just another couple on a bus. Perhaps the changing faces don't represent anxious deliberation, but the distressing realization that they're destined for a life of boring conformity. Even the counterculture kids grew up and had families of their own.
Number 6, Taxi Driver.
Talking to me? Well, then who the hell else are you talking to? Talking to me?
The ending of Taxi Driver has been discussed and debated for decades. Some people believe that Travis died in the brothel, and that the final scene with Betsy is some kind of death dream, while others believe that the Betsy scene actually happened, which it totally did.
I read about you in the papers. How are you?
But then there's even further debate, as some interpret the ending as Travis being cured and returning to normality. However, that couldn't be further from the truth. By having Travis do a double take into the rearview mirror, the movie is subtly showing us that Travis has found something else to cure, hinting that he's still dangerous and that he will indefinitely continue his cycle of violence.
Number 5, A Clockwork Orange.
I don't care about the dangers, Father. I just want to be good.
The ending of A Clockwork Orange remains controversial and misunderstood to this day, perhaps because people don't like the idea of inherent evil. The ending sees Alex shedding his tendencies towards violence and sex, being offered a job by the minister, and declaring that he's cured, leading many viewers to assume that he will continue his law-abiding nature.
You see, we are looking after your interests. We are interested in you. And when you leave here, you will have no worries. We shall see to everything. A good job on a good salary.
What job and how much?
However, this final declaration from Alex is laden with sarcasm. He's most certainly not cured, and will revert back to his violent ways. While Alex eventually matures in the novel, this is not the case for the film, which seems to be suggesting that evil cannot be controlled.
My mind is a blank. And I'll smash your face for you, blockos.
Good.
Number 4, In Bruges.
My mate tries to kill me. My gun gets nicked and we're still in Bruges.
Leaving a character's fate unanswered is often a cheap storytelling tactic, used for unearned discussion or sequel bait. And while In Bruges does employ the often frustrating ambiguous death trope, it uses it to complex and thematic effect.
Throughout the film, Colin Farrell's Ray contemplates taking his own life after accidentally killing a child. During the climax, Ray is shot by his employer Harry and taken into an ambulance while narrating his wish to stay alive.
And while we never learn the outcome, the actual catharsis comes from Ray wishing for life.
And I really, really hoped I wouldn't die.
As Ken suggested, Ray has earned his redemption and atoned for his sins, and that's good enough for us.
That's you, Harry. The boy has the capacity to change. The boy has the capacity to do something decent with his life.
Number 3, Total Recall.
Why go to Mars as a tourist when you can go as a playboy or a famous jock or...
Secret agent. How much is that?
The ambiguity of Total Recall's ending has made it one of the most debated endings in science fiction cinema. The ending sees the reactor releasing air into the Martian atmosphere and turning the sky blue. Everything seems well and happy, but there's a reason why Quaid thinks about the possibility of it being a dream. Earlier in the movie, a lab tech mentions a blue sky on Mars, and there are various other hints littered throughout pointing to the ending being a fabrication. So, did the ending actually happen, or was it all a programmed dream? There's certainly enough evidence to support the latter, even if many people believe it to be the former.
What if this is a dream?
Well, then kiss me quick before you wake up.
Number 2, Inception.
I need to get home. That's all I care about right now.
Why can't you go home?
Because they think I killed her.
Inception, like in Bruges, utilizes the otherwise frustrating lack of closure for thematic importance. The ending sees Cobb returning home to his children and ignoring the totem. The camera lingers on the spinning top, leading many viewers to debate whether Cobb was dreaming or not. And even ignoring the famous wedding ring theory, the idea of Cobb being in a dream or reality is not the point. The point is that Cobb chooses his own reality by ignoring the totem. It doesn't matter if the children are real or not. What matters is that Cobb has finally found peace and acceptance.
Hey guys!
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, Fight Club.
The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club.
Fight Club is arguably one of the most misunderstood movies of all time. Posters of Tyler Durden have littered many a college dorm, and Durden's philosophies are often hailed as some sort of cure for the modern commercial age. Only, we're not supposed to root for Durden. The ending in which the buildings explode is not meant to be cheered or viewed as some sort of moral victory against the powerful elite, but an ominous sign of misaimed frustration. We're not supposed to cheer for the explosions, because they serve as a critique against the narrator's unhinged mental state. As the narrator explains, this violence is a result of a very strange time in his life.
You met me at a very strange time in my life.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.